Hello everyone. I'm going to share with you how to make this old-fashioned peach shortcake, and we're going to do it all from scratch. You ready? Let's get started. So these are the ingredients that we're going to be using. We're going to be using some fresh peaches, and they are nice and ripe. We're also going to be making our shortcake from scratch, and these are the ingredients for our shortcake. We're also going to be making some homemade whipped cream as well to go with our peach shortcakes. I cannot wait to share this wonderful old school recipe with you. You ready? Let's get started. So first we're going to get started with our shortcake dough. Now a shortcake, if you haven't had one in the past, I would describe a shortcake as being a mix between a scone and a biscuit. So we're going to be using 2.5 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour, and then when you put in your flour in, make sure you do want to level it off. Next I'm going to put in some baking powder, and I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Next, we're going to put in some salt, and we're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of regular table salt. So although summer is starting to wind down, when I went to the store, they had a beautiful selection of these fresh peaches, and so I decided to treat the family to some peach shortcake. And I wanted to share with y'all how I like to make this delicious dessert. So once we have our flour, baking powder, and salt in our bowl, we're also going to add some sugar, and that was 1/3 cup of sugar that I added to the bowl. Go on and use a wire whisk, or either you can use a fork and just kind of mix everything around. Then we're going to add some butter, and I'm using unsalted butter. We're going to use 1 stick of very cold unsalted butter. You can also have your butter come out of the freezer as well, but either the freezer or very cold out of the fridge, either one will work fine. I like to use my bench scraper, and we're just going to go on and chop it up to about the size of, say, like dime size, and then we're going to add that to our bowl. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome in. If you're a returner, welcome back. My name is Dyvonne, and this is my channel, Cooking for the Family. And on my channel, I like to share with you what I cook and bake for my family in my kitchen. I may share a story or two, family recipes, or things that I just like to make. And so I invite you to hit that subscribe button, become one of my wonderful subscribers. Now, in the description box below is a list of all the ingredients you need to make this delicious old-fashioned dessert, and I'm going to share with you how to take those ingredients and put them all together. So once we have our unsalted butter that was nice and firm, and we've gone on and kind of cut it up to about like that dime size, nickel size, no bigger than that, what you want to do is once you add it to the bowl of dry ingredients, you want to press and flatten those large pieces of butter and start to integrate those into your flour. Your flour is going to end up being like a cornmeal consistency, where you're going to have these little pieces of butter all throughout the flour. And just use your fingers just like I'm doing. My mom always said, and it is true, that a cook's best utensils is some nice clean hands. So you get in there with your hands and go on and squeeze and press that flour and that butter together and get it all mixed around. Now once you do that, we're going to use some nice cold milk, and we're going to be using 3/4 of a cup of cold milk. You can use either 2% milk, or either you can use whole milk. Either one of those will work fine, either 2% or whole milk. We're going to put half of the milk in with the butter and the flour mixture. And once half our milk has been integrated into our bowl with the flour and the butter, you put the second half of the milk. Now, as you're mixing and you're blending and you're pressing, you want to use your palm, just like I'm using there. So use your palm to press the dough to begin to make a cohesive ball inside your bowl. Now, while you're doing that, if you have a lot of dry flour, the flour mixture is still in there and it's not coming together, add a little bit more milk, just like I'm doing here. Just add a little bit more milk. Add about 1 tablespoon more milk, and then kind of press, just like I'm doing. Just kind of press, gather, and move it around. I need a little bit more, so I'm going to add about another teaspoon of milk and just kind of press. And as you're pressing, everything should start to come together. Now, once everything comes together, take your dough and you can put it on, I'm using here my silicone mat, or either you can also use like a cutting board or either a nice clean countertop. Either one of those will work just fine. And then you want to knead your dough a little bit. We're not going to knead it too much because we don't want our shortcakes to be tough, okay? So you just want to knead it a little bit. So by kneading it, you just press the dough, push it away from you, and bring it back to you. Just do that about 2 or 3 times to kind of just make a nice cohesive ball. Now, once you've done that, Then I'm going to use my rolling pin and we're going to roll out our shortcake dough. Our shortcakes, we're going to roll out our dough about a fourth of an inch thick. A fourth of an inch thick is going to be roughly, if you took, say, 3/4 and you stacked 3/4 together, about that thickness right around in there, okay? Now, once I have my dough rolled out, what I do next is that I go on and I cut out my shortcake rounds. And I'm going to use this biscuit cutter that has the fluted edge just to make those nice pretty ridges all around the sides. And this dough is going to give us enough for about 9 to 10 shortcakes. Now, if you don't want to cut out the rounds like I'm doing, you can also just cut them in squares, and so you should get about 9 to 10 of the squares for your shortcakes as well. Now, once we have all of our shortcakes all cut out, then I'm going to put it on my baking stone. If you don't have a baking stone like I'm using, you can also use a regular cookie sheet. You could put down parchment paper. You can also use a silicone baking mat if you have one of those as well. Also, with your shortcakes, what we're going to do is you want to put either some half and half, and I'm actually using half and half, or either you can use heavy cream. We're going to just brush a little bit on top. This is going to help it have that nice crust on top, and it's also going to give it a beautiful sheen, especially when we add that nice sanding sugar, also known as raw sugar. And we're going to put just about a quarter of a teaspoon, just a quarter of a teaspoon, which is a fourth of a teaspoon. We're just going to sprinkle a little bit all on top. Now, if you don't have any of this raw sugar that I'm using, you can also use regular granulated sugar, and just a couple of pinches of regular granulated sugar right on top will also work very nicely. Now, while I'm doing this, I have my oven preset on 375 degrees, and so it's been preheating. We're going to go on and bake these for about 15 to 17 minutes. Now, while our shortcakes are baking up, we're going to go on and prepare our fresh peaches. So you want to use 2 to 3 pounds of fresh peaches, and 2 to 3 pounds is going to be about 6 to 8 medium to large sized peaches. And the peaches that I'm using are a little bit bigger than a baseball. So these are some really nice sized peaches, and they're also nice and juicy too as well. Now, with your peaches, you go on and just peel the skin off. Once you peel the skin off, we're going to also take that middle stone out. Now, to do this, I'm using a paring knife, but any small flexible knife that you have should work just fine. And so once I kind of open it up, you see how you have that stone. Sometimes the center, the stone, is all together one piece. Sometimes it's going to be half in each peach. But just go ahead and remove that center stone and slice your peaches. And then also, when you're removing the center stone, sometimes the hard pieces of the stone is attached. And you see how those hard pieces are right there in the center of our peach. I take my spoon and I scoop out any of the hard pieces from the stone that happen to be left behind in the center before I go on and I slice my peach up. And so we're going to go on and finish slicing up all of our peaches. And I'm going to show you how to make this very simple peach filling that's going to go for our shortcakes. Also, when you're slicing your peaches, you want to make sure that you're not slicing your peaches too thin, okay? And so once we have our peaches all together, and this was 6 nice ripe peaches that we did, they're in our nice heavy bottom pot. We're going to put our pot on the stove, and to our peaches, we're going to be adding a 1/2 cup of regular granulated sugar, and a 1/4 cup of water, and then I'm going to turn my fire on a medium to high heat. We are going to bring our peaches to a boil. Now, once our peaches come to a boil, as soon as they come to a boil, we're going to reduce our heat to low. And also, be sure to mix around your peaches after you add the granulated sugar and the water. Now, our peaches have been cooking for about 5 minutes. They have come to a nice rolling boil. I'm going to go on and give our peaches a nice mix. They are starting to soften up. Now, it's important that you want your peaches to become soft, but you don't want your peaches to break down and become mushy. We just want to soften our peaches up, and we also want to get as much juice out of our peaches as well. I'm going to let our peaches go on and simmer for about 5 more minutes. So our peaches simmered for 5 more minutes. I went on and I turned them off. And as you see, we have this wonderful peach syrup that has come off of our fresh peaches. Our peaches are tender, but they still should have a little structure to them as well. Also, that nice peach syrup is going to thicken up as it continues to cool. Now we're going to make some fresh whipped cream to go with our peach shortcake because we are going all in today, y'all. So we're going to be putting in 3/4 of a cup of our fresh whipped cream. Now in the description box below, I will have the list of the ingredients you need to make your fresh homemade whipped cream as well. Now, half the family wants the fresh whipped cream and the other half of the family, they want to have vanilla ice cream, and vanilla ice cream also works great with this peach shortcake. And with that wonderful peach syrup, oh y'all, it's so good. It could be just an ice cream topping on its own. Those wonderful peaches that have the syrup is so good. So once we have our powdered sugar as well, so I put in 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and 3/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. We're going to go on and whip this all together until we have nice stiff peaks form. That usually is going to take you about 5 to 6 minutes for those nice stiff peaks to form. Well, this is our heavy whipping cream. We have made some wonderful fresh whipped cream for our peach shortcakes. I'm going to go on and put this in the refrigerator, and let's go on and start to get everything together. Our peaches have cooled off. Our shortcakes are out the oven. Everything is looking good. Let's go on and serve us up some, and let's see how we did today, y'all. And look at the shortcakes. Our shortcakes came out so perfect. Nice, beautiful coloring on our shortcakes. We've got that nice bottom, beautiful top with the nice sugar crystals on top. I'm going to go on and slice our shortcake open and put some of those wonderful peaches in there. And when it comes to the peaches, you can kind of put as much or as little as you like. I like to make sure I do some good scoopfuls, as well as make sure that I've got some of that wonderful peachy syrup that we made. And it was so simple with just a little bit of the sugar and the water, and just let them boil. And it just creates this wonderful peach syrup, and just so good. There is just something so special about baking from scratch and this old-fashioned recipes. They're just so good. And so let's go on and give this a try, and let's see how we did. And this first bite right here, y'all, you know this first bite is for you. I've got the shortcake, the whipped cream, the peaches on there. It's got a little bit of the syrup right there on the shortcake. Go ahead and take your bite. Okay, I'm going to go on and take my bite, see how we did. Wow, y'all, this came out so good. Simple ingredients. We took our time, we baked it and made it with love, and it shows, y'all, because this is absolutely delicious. I hope you give this recipe a try. Well, if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, I hope you hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up and click share, and share this video with a friend or family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you never miss out when I share what I'm cooking and baking in my kitchen for my family. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.